Welcome back. I'm Dr. Diana Hill. I'm a clinical psychologist. This show is about wise effort. It's about you identifying your unique genius, what makes you you, what makes you an original, what energy you have to offer this world, and then applying that energy wisely, applying it in ways that matter to you, that contribute to not only your well-being, but the well-being of others, so that you can level up in your career, in your family life, in your well-being. In the last episode, I spent some time talking about this concept of being overcommitted and under-involved, the ways in which we pack our lives with too much, do too much, and then end up feeling like we're not really doing enough, or we're not even getting what we really like. You know, this difference between wanting and liking. We talked about the myth of normalcy. We talked about holding too tight to things. We talked about being stuck in a story. We talked about avoiding feelings. And we talked about not pointing ourselves in the right direction. Today, I'm going to offer you some solutions. What are 5 ways you can actually turn this energy around and get it going in the direction that you want it to go? And the information that I'm sharing today comes from ACT, psychological flexibility. It comes from contemplative practice. It comes from psychological science. It comes from my own personal experience. I'm a human alongside you and struggle with some of these things myself. And it also comes from 15 years of working with clients. I work with high achievers in my practice. It started out as working a lot with eating disorders, which tends to go hand in hand with high achieving behaviors. But now I work with like CEOs and healthcare workers and PhD students and therapists and entrepreneurs, people that are wanting to play big in lots of ways, but then trip themselves up. They feel like they are spinning their wheels and going nowhere and not really leading the lives that they long to lead. I have a big window in my kitchen, and all sorts of critters come in our kitchen because we live in Southern California. Things can get in. So there's like lizards in my kitchen. There's birds in my kitchen. Every once in a while, a chicken will find their way into my kitchen. And I often like to use this metaphor of a bird hitting its head against the window when I'm talking about striving, because I know you can relate to this feeling of going hard at something that you think that you want. And then you hit a wall, you hit that window, you're trying to fly up and out, and then boom, you get hit, and then down you fall. And when we do that repeated times over and over again, we have to start asking ourselves, like, why am I still flying at that same window when it's hurting me? Do you ever ask yourself that? It's kind of a helpful thing to get curious about. What's going on here that I am doing that? Well, last time we talked about what's going on here. You are holding too tight to a story. You're avoiding that discomfort that comes with saying, okay, I'm going to like turn around and see if there's another way out of here. I have to do something new. I have to try something new. And I really believe that you do not have to stop flying. You're a bird. You're meant to fly. If you are a striver, if you're a high achiever, if you like to do big things, don't stop doing them because you're burned out. Learn how to use your energy more wisely. That's what wise effort is about. It's not about you stopping being who you are. And when you look at people that are engaged with social justice or climate change, would we say stop? You know, we wouldn't ever tell them that. We'd like, please keep going, but please do it wisely. Do it wisely. So this is what we need to start to look at for ourselves is how can we as birds fly in our unique way and fly hard towards the things that really matter to us. I'm going to give you 5 ways you can do that today. But first, I want to talk about human yearnings. And I did an episode with Joe Sorochi and Steve Hayes on this. I've gotten really into these yearnings, folks. I think they're fantastic. The human yearnings that we all have, these 6 core yearnings every human has. This is based on evolution theory, but it's also sort of like an outgrowth development of humanistic psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-determination theory. These are some other ways of talking about human actualization. And Steve Hayes came up with these 6 core human yearnings, which can either get misdirected or directed. And what directs them is us and where we put our energy. Okay, without further ado, 6 core human yearnings. We yearn to connect, to belong, to be included, to make sense of things. We want to understand things. We yearn to feel deeply, to have emotional depth. You know how good it feels to have emotional depth, to have that, vulnerable connection with another human being, emotional depth with yourself, when you feel like you really are attuned to your feelings and you go there. It feels good. We yearn to be oriented. We want to be here and now and also have a sense of where we're going. We yearn to have purpose and meaning. And all humans yearn to develop competence. We all want to grow. We want to get better at stuff. It's not just for performance reasons. It actually just feels good to learn, to develop skills, to have goals, to achieve those goals. These are things that we all yearn for. And when we are spinning our wheels, overcommitted, underinvolved, doing too much, sometimes it's because we're going after these yearnings in really unhelpful ways. So the first step, if you find yourself caught in that kitchen and you're flying after that window over and over and over again, is to pause, get curious, and actually ask yourself, what is my unique strength, my inner genius, my offering here? Because that genius can help you with those human yearnings. That energy can help you with those human yearnings. And honoring the fact that you are a bird that can fly and that you can use that flight to get you out. You can. So our genius energy is our gifts, your talents, the things that make you feel alive, what makes you an original. And we have all sorts of diverse, unique genius energies. Remember, nobody is normal. Nobody's normal. Maybe just those 500 people, right, on our planet that are normal. So that means maybe you have a genius at being really emotionally sensitive and you can pick up emotions in the room. Maybe you're a great problem solver, or maybe you're an incredible helper, or you're super great at organizing things or taking complex problems and simplifying them. Maybe your genius is that you are a bright light. You just light up the room. And these geniuses, these things that make us unique, the energy within us, our talents, gets misdirected in those yearnings, right? Because if you are a bright light that lights up a room and you have a yearning to belong, you may overuse that and become like the super people pleaser so that you can belong, as opposed to using that bright light to show up as you, the bright version of you, and experience the fact that you already belong. We all do. So identifying your unique strengths, your genius, is the first step in getting out of that kitchen. It's not telling that bird don't fly. It's not. I don't want you to tell yourself that. I actually want you to say, I am great at flying. I'm just stuck. I need to point myself in another direction, which is step number 2, directing your energy. And this is where it comes to values. So you're stuck in the kitchen, you're flying at the window, you're getting hit over and over again. At some point, you may also just sit on the floor and give up because you're so exhausted, you're so burned out. In ACT, we say, okay, when you're there, we actually want to do something else, which is creative hopelessness. See that what you're doing, where you're pointing your energy, is hopeless. It's not going to get you where you want to go. It's just going to hit your head against the wall one more time. Instead, get creative. What are your values? Where do you want to go? What matters to you? How do you want to use this energy? And when you do that, you are going to be vulnerable as heck because it is really hard to turn your energy towards what matters to you because it's kind of painful. Last time I talked about this work trip that I had lined up, and I longed to say, no, I can't do it. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to be home when my kid comes home from his bike ride, and I want to be the mom that's holding up the sign to say, welcome back, not somewhere else. And I knew it. My body knew it. I could feel the regret that I would have. I was anticipating regret. You're already anticipating regret. That means a value is there, whispering. And in order to do that, in order to say, I can't go, it meant I had to walk through the pain of saying, I can't go. It meant disappointing people that I really care about. Sometimes that's what it's like when you are choosing your values. It's kind of excruciating. When you choose your values, when you choose to turn that bird around and look for other options and fly out another direction, maybe one that's new to you that you haven't tried before, or one that is just scarier to you because it means that you'd have to face some things you don't want to face. You are practicing chosen intrinsic purpose. Chosen intrinsic purpose. Chosen in that nobody else can choose that for you. Nobody else knows your values but you. Intrinsic. It comes from the inside, not the outside. It's not what looks good. It's maybe even not what you're going to get praised for. You may even get punished for it. But intrinsic, inside of you, you know what's right for you. And purpose. Purpose in the sense of this is my yearning to live my life out in a way that has integrity and purpose, that is beneficial to others and beneficial to you. Values are qualities, they're not domains. So it's not that you value family or value work. You can do both. You can have values within how you show up in your family and have values where you show up in your work, and they can enhance each other. My friend Yael Schonbraun wrote a whole book on this, how our work-life balance is kind of like a farce. Like really, our work can enhance our family life and our family life can enhance our work when we live out our values in all those domains. So when you start asking yourself what type of friend, sibling, partner, community member, student, or worker you want to be, when you start asking yourself, what's missing here? What does it mean to you to have a fulfilling life? And what right now is important for you to show up for? And how do you want to show up? When you get honest and you get into a place of integrity around these questions, then you already know what to do. You already know what things to say no to. You already know what things to say yes to. And that you will face choice points over and over and over and over again. So it doesn't matter if you turned left last time and that was away from your values. Use that as information so that you turn right this time. And that in one situation, it will be saying yes. In another situation, it'll be saying no. Because how we live out those values could look really different in different contexts. It's more about checking in with your heart and having your feet move from your heart, not from your head. That is something that Robin Walser has taught me a lot about, of living from my heart, and my feet are what carry me in the right direction. All right, number three, to get yourself unstuck from this kitchen, get yourself out of there, but also to create the life that you really long for, to respond to those human yearnings and have more vitality, to stop doing so much and start doing what you want, is that you need to open to feelings. I did a whole episode on this, folks, how to be with an uncomfortable feeling. This is my jam these days, is becoming like a super ninja with feelings. Learning how to center yourself when you have an uncomfortable feeling. Like, how do you find your center? Is it music? Is it movement? Is it breath work? Is it hugging your dog? Is it having sex? Is it whatever it is? How do you center yourself? How do you ground yourself so that then you can open yourself? And getting really clear on what your grounding practices are, your centering practices are, doing them on a regular basis so you can return to them when you need them. The steps of opening to our feelings is welcoming them, noticing them in our body, being able to name them, listen to them. What do you need? What are you here for? Taking care of them. I'm here for you too. I'm here for you, feeling. I'm here to take care of you. That you start to get into relationship with your feelings. Your feelings aren't you, but you are in relationship with them. You are making space for them. You are the container that holds them, the spacious, loving awareness that can observe and care for your feelings. And when you do this, then you have more power, more agency to go where you want to go, because I guarantee you, whatever direction you go, it's going to be painful. If you look back on your life, you're like, oh my gosh, if I knew what I had to go through to get to this point in my life, I would have never wanted to take another step. It's been kind of like a series of shit shows and a series of wonderful, magical things that have been outgrowths of all of that pain and suffering. Right? So when we develop this skill, become ninja warriors with our feelings that really welcome the unwelcome, as Pema would say, then we can do pretty much anything that we want to do in life that is hard, because hard no longer becomes the thing that we shy away from. At the same time, we don't do something just because it's hard. Sometimes the feeling that we need to open to is the feeling of being unproductive, or the fear of rest, or the fear of stillness. I can't tell you how many people fear stillness, fear quiet, fear being alone with themselves. That is something that we all need to work on. How to be in a waiting room without going on our phones. How to be in line and take it as an opportunity to be with our bodies and our minds, or with another person that's standing right next to us. Okay, opening to feelings is your third step. Opening your mind is your fourth step. This is where we need to get some space from our thoughts, start to question our thoughts, start to ask ourselves those 4 things I talked about with Maura, Aaron's Mel, about AI anxiety, where we use wise speech with ourselves. We ask ourselves, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this kind? And is this timely? When we have lots of thoughts that are dictating our decision making, and we're just following our thoughts right and left because we think that we have to do something, we're obligated to do it, we need to say yes to this, we could never do that thing, or we believe our self-limiting thoughts that we are not capable or able, we need to start questioning our thoughts. Most of the time, it's just the question. It's not even getting into the debate with the thought. It's just pausing enough to question your own mind. Like, really? Are you sure? Is that helpful? Is that true? Is that kind? Not the good time. So when we start to do that, it decouples you from your mind. And all of a sudden, your mind can say all sorts of things, but you don't have to obey. And some of these things that your mind is saying aren't really yours in the first place. They came out of your upbringing, the media, all sorts of places. So we start to question our minds. And that is a powerful skill. And when we do all of that, we, number 1, identify our genius energy. What are your talents, your strengths, your gifts that you have to offer this world? Super exciting. Number 2, we start to direct that energy. We put it where we want it to go. We show up in the ways that we want to show up. Number 3, we open up to all the feelings that come with that. Number 4, we open up our minds so that we're not held captive by our thoughts. Then we can do the number 5 thing, which is opening up our sense of self. Because when you are overcommitted and underinvolved, when you are doing too much and feel like you aren't doing enough, you are not opening to something that is so much bigger and available for you right here and now, which is our interconnection. You are not so responsible. You are part of something way, way, way bigger than just you. Your self extends beyond you. You are being held and cared for. Gosh, you're just being held and cared for by this planet, by the trees that are making air for you right now. They are caring for you. You're being held and cared for on the freeway when somebody is slowing behind you and not ramming into you, right? We are all holding and caring for each other. And you are never alone. You aren't alone. You belong. And these stories that you are telling yourself about what you have to do and what you as a solo individual are responsible for, stories like I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough, or it's all dependent upon me, are stories that are not recognizing the truth of who you are. You are love. You are connected. You are free. That door to the kitchen for you to fly out of is open. It is open. And you are free to fly. And when you do, the world is waiting for you. There's so much good available to all of us right now, right here. So much unconditional love. And maybe we don't always feel it from humans, but we certainly can feel it from plants and animals and the ocean and the mountains and just our interbeing. Alrighty. So we've covered 5 things that can help you. 5 ways to get what you really want in life, what you really yearn for. You're yearning to connect with others. You're yearning to make sense of things. You're yearning to feel deeply and be oriented and have purpose and develop competence. You can meet all of those yearnings right here and now. When you discover your genius, when you direct your energy towards what matters to you, when you open up to feeling, when you open up your mind, and you open up your sense of self. Hope this episode is helpful to you, inspiring to you, and I look forward to talking more about Wise Effort with you in the near future. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Effort podcast. Wise Effort is about you taking your energy and putting it in the places that matter most to you. And when you do so, you'll get to savor the good of your life along the way. If you would like to become a member of the Wise Effort podcast, go to wiseeffort.com. And if you like this episode and think it would be helpful to somebody, please leave a review over at Podchaser. I would like to thank my team, my partner in all things, including the producer of this podcast, Craig, Ashley Hyatt, the podcast manager, and thank you to Ben Gold at Bell & Branch for our music. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and it's not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatments.